and I'd like to uh, welcome you in Quinn's space.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. So this is kind of like the outer planet in this sort of like universe. And then you can kind of go inside, and I guess each sort of planet is kind of like different thoughts or experiences. I did like kind of include some quotes as like kind of food for thought, but I think yeah, they can all kind of each like stand alone and also interact with each other. So yeah, I'd love to hear. I mean, anything about like what folks think. This is kind of like on the outside of this world, and then into like we'll go through like kind of a few of them. Um, yeah, and they kind of like different. I was like playing a lot with like planes and layers, and thinking about kind of just like complexities of people's different experiences, and that kind of thing. But I think it's pretty open to interpretation. So.
Would you like to hear some interpretations before you share a bit more? Or
Sure, that sounds great.
so we are going to visit the different planets, and each of them have a quote in it, and also they are. For me, this space feels like a very complex layer, as Quinn said, also layered space, which reminds me on our different identities. Um, so and are you, Luxie, are you close by? Because if you are not close, um, let let me just have Luxie. But so I just wanted to say about this space that it feels a lot like how you unveil another and othering, and how can you get close to someone else, and the someone else can also maybe not, it doesn't necessarily have to be another human, but a different terrain that you discover. And I find a lot of similarities to self. I can't quite hear the speaker, so I'm not sure. And so I'm curious. First of all, I think these quotes, power can be defined as the ability to make a particular perspective universal. And well, first of all, it is by Alok Vodmanon. How is universality and how are we losing our different layers by making things universal? Would you like to talk a bit about this, Quinn?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that like I get yeah, I was just drawn to like I think there's um can be like a drive to kind of like quantify human experiences into like a single story or a narrative and stuff, and that's like there's a lot of kind of power and control that can be wielded from that. So I was thought it was kind of like one of those like sort of an invitation to think about like what forces have or haven't like kind of shaped how you see the world, your perspective either on yourself or your own experiences, on like society and that kind of thing. And yeah, I think I like Alec. If you haven't checked out his work, is a really amazing artist, and definitely check out like Instagram and like their poetry and that kind of thing. But yeah, and I also like I kind of wanted it out here since this is like the only planet place where you can kind of see the entire world, and like sort of the like outer rim and stuff. So
So it is actually like behind the code that you can see the whole space.
yeah,
And so for the planets, you used your different paintings and drawings, right?
mm-hmm.
But you used other. I found you played a lot with balancing between pre-made assets that are already in this virtual space, but also with hand drawn or hand painted lines and shapes and pieces. I was wondering. if it's not that easy to go from planet to planet, should we just share some more of the quotes, or would you like us to go to the next planet, Quinn?
Um, I think it might be nice to try to go to the planets. Yeah, because they, yeah, kind of bring the quotes alive and everything. But yeah, like maybe we can go to less of them or something, or just go to one and then have people wander around if it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah getting complicated to navigate.
And so this is a fairly smaller space. How is everyone doing? Would you mind to share your thoughts about this space, or are you comfortable moving around? Do you need any help, or what are your questions to Quinn?
You can see through each planet in a way that you are in a space that you can also see everywhere, but you know you are inside and stuck. I like that.
That has a very specific stuckness to it, Minush, right? Like when you are freely floating, but you also understand that this free float is a very compact and maybe limited.
Yeah.
The the new claustrophobic. Yeah, so yeah, this has a very different kind of claustrophobia, right? Maybe not even claustrophobia, but also I think it's very similar to how you how hard is it to like navigate between the avatars, and when are you in the space of the other person, and when you are what is proper and what is not. It's very different in here. And I found it also interesting in this space, Queen, that how you enter these planets reminds me on how we enter different emotional landscapes, or maybe cycles of wisdom or knowledge, or how you come to different terms, and it's always changing. It's always something uh, something different, but it I found the quotes very grounding in these spaces. Would you like to talk a bit about this quote here?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, this one's from Andrea Gibson. They're one of my favorite poets, and I just yeah, like I felt like it kind of tied in with like the perspective thing. I think there's a lot of emphasis to like not feel a variety of emotions and stuff, but and like not kind of like be stuck but not pretend to be stuck and that kind of thing. And I don't think like that's really like a good way to like navigate through the world and stuff. And I think like this and like I think there's also like a lot of blame when it comes to like mental health things like on the person themselves, when in fact like there's a lot of things going on in the world and a lot of reasons and super valid reasons to feel a lot of different things. And so and then this planet was like very like kind of like blue rings and stuff, and I just thought about it like kind of like different layers of that kind of thing.
So the quote is, just in case if someone has hard time to read it, it is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a sick society. And it surely feels very heavy at the moment, right? How do you relate in your own little bubble in front of the computer to anything that is out of that, and all the things happening are taking shape in a very different and new way, right? I'm curious, how do you connect with society, or how do you feel about this? Or do you find any, like, what are your balancing tricks?
Balancing tricks. Oh,
Like, how can you like how do you relate to a sick society, or how do you respond to that?
Um, I think you can try to change it, or like I don't know. I think like the first step is just like I mean, it's a lot. It's a huge weight off, or it's been sometimes like a huge weight off like my shoulders. I think to like take the blame from like an internal thing to like there's things wrong in the world and there's like a reason to feel sad or anything that like you're it's kind of like taboo to feel and stuff. So I feel like that's kind of like a first step. And then yeah, like there's a lot of freedom and even just being able to see the world for more of what it is, even if you're like still stuck in it. And then after that, it's kind of like finding people and community and like maybe organizing or doing different things to try to make the world a little bit different.
I guess it is also what I find interesting in this space is how you perceive it, right? And how do you perceive it at the moment in time? Where are you, and what is surrounding you, and so how you respond to that?
Mm-hmm.
Should we go to the next planet,
Sure. Yeah.
or does anyone would you do you have any questions to Quinn?
I have a question in terms of like music. Uh, did you, what do you think about the connection? Like, because you know, you spoke about the idea, the concept of how we get from outside or like the society or like changing, you know, the environment, that kind of stuff. How do you think about the music? I'm not very familiar with music, you know, terms or you know, any type of like related. So I don't have that knowledge. I'm wondering if you have a particular thing about the choice of music.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a musical artist. I like really appreciate music. It would the background music is just like Lindsay Sterling. I wanted something without words that kind of like seemed orchestral and grand, and since it was coming from like it's supposed to be like coming from the center thing, so it's like loudest when you're there, and then further in a way. And I was just trying to find yeah like something that felt like united the things and like maybe connected to like the outside world. Yeah, and I do think like depending on like which part of the song is in, it kind of affects like the tone and how you may like see the piece, which I kind of enjoyed playing.
So was it a music that you appreciated, or do you think that music was kind of introducing me to the enter the space, like in outer
Y-
space?
yeah, like it. I think it was yeah. I meant it more as like kind of an introduction to like the outer space and like the kind of world at large. It's also music I enjoy, but yeah, yeah, I felt like it was kind of like gestural. I mean, if anything kind of makes you want to like move or dance or something, and like kind of I feel like it livens things. Well, also um, yeah, so just kind of adds another element or dimension.
Thank you.
First. And so here we are. The quote of this planet is by Paul Tran, which says, "Time, domino effect. An object in motion stays in motion, the past driving us forward." Would you could you speak a bit about domino effect in this space, Quinn? How
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this planet was kind of created off remnants of an old project where people could like fill out forms and generate images, and so each of the like inner layers is like the layers that formed one of the like kind of square images on the outside. And so I was kind of thinking about like the interplay between all of these, and then like the rims on the outer planet squares are all formed with like different combinations of like similar kind of images. So I was thinking a lot about yeah, like the interconnectivity, and like how like kind of one thing leads to another and that kind of thing. And really enjoying like kind of playing around with like the visual layers, which then could relate to time or experience or kind of anything like that.
I'm curious how the different planets and your space is also a bit like this fractal-like thing, but in a very poetic and for me it also feels so soft with all these like soft layerness to it.
Yeah, I think I like kind of drawn to like both, like the like textures and the sort of like mathematical like precision and stuff too. Yeah, so it's kind of fun to play with.